Hello, this is Blakey Crowe. Welcome to Lesson 3 of Free Adult Beginner Piano Lessons. In Lesson 2, you learned some notes in the treble clef and you learned to play your first song using the right hand and the notes in the treble clef. In this Lesson 3, we're going to be learning how to use the bass clef, learn the notes in the bass clef, and play a song from the bass clef. In Lesson 2, we learned how to use the course website. The course website is piano.askcbc.com. That's piano.askcbc.com. You can go to that website, and from there, you can access all of the YouTube videos. You can watch the songs in the book, and then later in the course, as you start posting your own songs there, then you can go to your own, watch your own music there, and read comments about how to improve how you've played the songs. So we'll be going to the learning the notes in the bass clef. So using the bass clef today, learning 5 notes there: C, D, E, F, and G. We learned C, D, F, and G in the treble clef in Lesson 2, but in this lesson, in the bass clef, we're also learning the notes C, D, E, F, and G, how to read these notes from the music staff. In this lesson, we're learning the bass clef. This is the bass clef symbol. In the bass clef, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. That's the same as it was in the treble clef. So the bass clef, treble clef, both have 5 lines, 4 spaces. You can put a note on any line or any space. You can also put notes either below or above the lines. For the bass clef, we're going to use the second space. Here's the first space, the second space. That note is a C. On the keyboard, there's 2 black notes near the middle of the piano. Just to the left of those 2 black notes is middle C. Middle C was in the treble clef, but we're moving 8 notes below that, 8 white notes further down the keyboard to your left. So when you find the 2 black notes that's near the middle of the piano, go to your left to the next 2 black notes. Just to the left of those 2 black notes is this C. So when you see a note on the second space of the bass clef, then you will know that you will play that just to the left of the 2 black notes. That's 8 notes below the middle C. So this is not middle C. Middle C actually is going to be 1 added line above. We'll get to that later in the course. So this C is to the left of 2 black notes. Then the 1, 2, 3, the third line in the bass clef, the third line is a D. The D is between the 2 black notes. Then we go to the third space, which is an E, and E is just to the right of those 2 black notes. The fourth line is on F. F is to the left of the 3 black notes. And then we have the fourth space is G. And G in the fourth space is between, when you have 3 black notes, the 2 to the left is between those 2. Or you could just start with, when you go to the left of 2 black notes is C, and just count up 1 at a time. C, go to the next note is D, next note is E, next note is F, next note is G. So what you will need to do is, you will learn to recognize these. When you see a note on the third line in the bass clef, you need to know that is a D. When you see a note on the fourth line, you need to know that's an F. When you see a note on the second space, that's C. When you see a note on the fourth space, that's G. When you see a note on the third space, that's E. We just take time to learn these. Learn these notes so when you see these particular notes, you know where on the keyboard that you will play these particular notes. In the last lesson, I discussed the length of notes. We talked about 4 different kind of notes. One was a whole note, half note, quarter note, and eighth note. In Great Britain, they call this a semi-breve, a minimum note, a crotchet note, and a quaver note. So I'm using the terminology for both because everyone taking this course is not from the United States. You will use whatever terminology that your country uses so you can communicate with people in your country better. For the people in the United States, we'll use the whole, half, quarter, and eighth note terminology. So the whole note gets 4 counts. When you play a whole note or a semi-breve note, when you play it, you count 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it for 4 counts. When you play a half note, you'd play it 1, 2. Hold it for 2 counts. The quarter note, just play it for 1 count. And then later in the course, we'll get the eighth note. It gets a half of a count, or 2 of those would get 1 count. So we did go over those last time, just a little bit of review on the length of the notes. But for new in this lesson, we're learning to recognize in the bass clef. Here's the bass clef symbol. In the bass clef, when you see notes on these particular lines or spaces, you need to immediately know what the name of that note is and where is that note on the piano. For instance, when I see a note on the second space in the bass clef, I need to immediately know that's a C, and I need to know to play that to the left of the 2 black notes, but not where middle C is, but 8 notes below that. It's the 2 black notes just to the left of the one where middle C is. So there are some exercises on page 18 and 19. So do the exercises on page 18 and 19, and when you do those, you can go to the website, which is piano.askcbc.com, and when you go to that site, you can click on the link and it will give you the answers to page 18 and 19. If you don't want to write in your book, I have those where you can print out just like it is in the book, so you can write on that paper, because you might want to sell your book later. If you don't mind writing in your book, just go ahead and write in your book. And page 18 and 19, you'll do those exercises, and you will check your answers from the course website. The course website is piano.askcbc.com. And then we're going to be going into looking at learning a song in today's lesson. In lesson 1, on page 16, you did a left-hand warm-up exercise. On that left-hand warm-up exercise, you found the 2 black notes near the middle of the piano. You moved down 1, that's called an octave, to the next 2. You move to the 2 black notes beneath that, and then to the left of that is C. So starting with C, using your little finger on C, the next note above that is D, the next note above that is E, and then F, and then G. So with your fingers over these 5 notes, in that lesson 1, you were just use your fingers to kind of get familiar with the keyboard. But in this lesson, in an earlier video, you learned to look at the music staff and recognize a note on the staff and where to play it. On page 16, for the left-hand warm-up, it begins, you can't see the music from here. It probably is too tough to put it where you can see both at the same time. I'll just tell you what the notes are. It starts out with a note on the 4 space. In the bass clef, 4 space, that is a G. It starts out with a G, and it goes down to the 4th line, which is an F. It goes to the 3rd space, which is an E. Then it goes to the 3rd line, which is an E, and the 2nd space, which is the C. So we did this warm-up in lesson 1 just to get our familiar with the kind of our fingers getting familiar with the keyboard. But now we're going to play this warm-up exercise on page 16. Say the names of the note as you play it. It starts on a G, and you'll be using your thumb on G, and you'll be going through all 5 fingers, and I'm going to say the notes as I play it. G, F, E, D, C. G, F, E, D, C. But what you need to be thinking is, when you see those notes on the music paper, you should be thinking that, okay, when I see a fourth space, that is G in the bass clef. When I see the fourth line, that's an F. When I see a third space, that's E. When I see the third line, that's D. When I see the second space, that's C. So this exercise, I just played the first score. The second score, it starts with the second space, which is C. So it starts on the second space, which is C, and it goes, and say these as you play it, but be looking at where's this note on the music staff, and then also where's that on the keyboard. It goes C, D, E, F, G, C, D, E, F, G. Then the third score, it starts on the fourth space, which is G, and it goes down to C, but then it repeats the C and comes back up. It goes G, F, E, B, C, C, D, E, F, G. I know that you're just seeing the keyboard, but you need to be looking at the music on page 16 and thinking as you play this what the name of the note is. Your first song is on page 17. We talked about the length of the notes. In the last song, you only had 2 different length notes. You had a half note, which got 2 beats, and a quarter note got 1 beat. We're adding the whole note, which gets 4 beats. And I gave you the different terminology for other countries early in the video. Use whatever terminology your country uses. Get used to using that terminology so you can communicate with other people in your country easier. But for the song on the bottom of page 17, it's called RLE. It begins in the bass clef, and in the bass clef, it starts on the second space. The second space in the bass clef is the C. Middle C is to the left of the 2 black notes near the middle. This is 1 octave or 8 notes below that. So use your little finger, and it has a C. The next note is on the 4th line. The 4th line in the bass clef is an F. Then the next note is the 3rd space. That's an E. Then it goes back to the 4th line, which is an F. Then it goes to the 4th space, which is a G. So I'm going to play this song, and I'm going to name the notes as I play it. C, F, E, F, G, D, G, F, E, D, E, F. The second score, it starts on the second space, so it goes from the second space, then it goes to the 4th line, which goes from a C to an F. It goes C, F, E, F, G, D, G, F, E, D, E, F. I did it that time by naming the notes as I was playing them. But we need to do it again and make sure we get the length of the notes correctly. Also, make sure you have the correct fingering. Anytime you play this C, we're going to use a 5, the D is a 4, E is a 3, F is a 2, G is a 1 in the left hand. So we look at the bass clef, and we have quarter notes to begin with. Then we have a half note, and at the end of the score we have a whole note, which counts 4 beats. So I'm going to count as I play it. I'm counting the number of beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So as you play it, we'll do 2 different things. We'll play it one time, name the notes as you play it. Play it again, and count the beats. And then you can play it again, and there's some words there. You can play it and sing it if you'd like to. So this is our first song using the left hand. In the next lesson, you will be learning to use a song where that you'll play some notes in the right hand, which is on the treble clef, and some notes in the bass clef, which is in the left hand. In lesson 2, we just used the treble clef in the right hand. In lesson 3, we just used the bass notes and the left hand. Leave me some comments. If you have any questions, put your questions in the comments. Let me know how you're doing. If not, otherwise, just say, I'm learning piano, or I'm enjoying learning piano. I'm looking forward to your comments. I'll see you in the next lesson.